Welcome to Healthy Living, Happy Life, the podcast that helps women to navigate midlife and menopause, rediscover who you are, and create your best life yet. I'm Denise Stegall, and I am so glad that you are here with me today. So today we're going to talk about a topic that is not always discussed in the boardroom for those of us who are still working in careers. It's also not discussed very often with our friends over coffee. It may be, but it probably should be more. We are going to talk a little bit about how to rediscover a better sex life in midlife. And my mother is mortified just by me saying those words out loud. Because, we grew up in a time where this was not something that we talked about. And, in our lives, those of us who are in midlife now, we kind of grew up in, we're 80s girls and guys, but, we grew up in the 80s, right? Those were our, teens, teen years into our early 20s. And we really didn't have conversations like this with our friends, our parents, our mothers. Talking about menopause to my mother was like, oh, she really doesn't think she went through it. That's how deep those conversations went. But at this stage, our careers, whether, full-time career, part-time career, kids, no kids, responsibilities that have really taken center stage for years, we're at a place where it's like, okay, you know what? I've done all of this, but now it's about me, connection, pleasure, intimacy. And I do actually talk about intimacy in another podcast episode because it's a little bit different from, sex and intimacy goes together, but they are also two separate things. But midlife, as we know, brings change. It also brings opportunity to reawaken some passion and confidence in ways that maybe never explored before, right? So let's get real here. Let's get comfortable and let's talk about some ways that you can reconnect with your body, your desires, and your partner. So what is really happening here in this shift, right? By the time we hit our 40s, mid 40s, 50s, and beyond, our bodies have gone through major transformations. Whether you've had kids, no kids, menopause, all the things that happen in life, right? Hormonal shifts from menopause, drop in estrogen, affects our libido. I mean, there was a time where I thought my libido was on permanent vacation. But there's also physical discomfort and mood swings, right? That all come with that. Emotional changes. If you've had kids and now they're away in college, you're an empty nester. Possible career transitions. I know a couple of people who I've spoken with whose jobs were done away with at their company, and all of a sudden they had to take a job, that a less paying job or not have a job at all, right? And then of course there are people who are looking to retire, right? Or just relationship shifts. All of these things can impact our intimacy, and that's part of what we're talking about today. Stress, big part of challenges that we may have with our partners when it comes to sex, right? Body image. Okay, ladies, we're not 20 anymore. Our bodies are never going to look like that again. That doesn't mean that they can't look healthy and fit and have good muscle tone, right? And love the body that you're in, right? But also there's fatigue. We tire easier. Maybe we're not sleeping as well through the night. And just, that kind of really disconnects you from, feeling sexual or feeling attractive to our partners. Now, that's us thinking that. That's not them thinking that, right? Because if we don't talk to them about that, how would we know, right? Does this sound familiar to you? Yeah? Uh-huh. I'm preaching to the choir. Yes, I know. But truly, there is good news, right? We know that that this isn't the end, right? Midlife is a transition. For most of us now with menopause, I'm now postmenopausal. Postmenopausal, I potentially have 33 more years based on, some tracker that I did, my longevity. I have at least 33 more years of life left to live. You better believe I want them to be good years, right? So midlife is not the end of a fulfilling sex life, right? In fact, it could be the beginning of something better, deeper, more passionate, and more intimate. But you have to be open to embracing it, right? Kids are out of the house, try something different. You never know, right? Without, try something different. Just make sure that, when they're coming home. So this all starts, I say this time and time again, because what I do with my clients, I work on nutrition and I work on mindset first and foremost. Those are the two places where we begin. And this all begins with self connection, connecting to yourself. Before you can even think about being intimate with your partner, you have to be focused on your relationship with you, how you feel, how you feel about yourself when you look at the mirror in the mirror. All of those things are important. And questions to ask yourself: are you prioritizing your self-care? Right? It's not just bubble baths and bonbons, right? Do people even eat bonbons? I don't even know what a bonbon is, by the way. If anybody wants to let me know what a bonbon is, please send me a note. But truly, self-care is about nutrition, it's about movement, it's about sleep, it's about stress reduction, all of those things. Of course, I do talk about it in my book. I know, terrible plug here, everyone, for Healthy Living, Happy Life. Oh, wait a minute, name of book, name of podcast. There's a reason. I talk about all of those things. Eat real food, make good decisions, and be accountable. Guess what? If you're eating real food, you're taking care of the nutrition. If you're making good decisions, you're moving in a way that is helpful for your body. You're strength training, you're getting some cardio, you're going outside in the sun and getting, vitamin D, right? You're sleeping better. And ladies, if you're struggling with hot flashes and that's keeping you awake, that's something that you really do need to address, because sleep is essential. It's always essential. But at this stage in life with our hormones, we know that with less sleep, our cortisol levels, another hormone, goes up. Our leptin and ghrelin start to get unbalanced, and those are the hormones that tell us whether we're hungry or we're full, right? So what happens is, all of a sudden we feel hungry more often. It's because those hormones are out of balance. And then, of course, stress relief. Are you meditating? Are you just taking time to just be quiet? Walking out in nature, whatever it may be. Today's actually a beautiful day here. And after our podcast, I am going to go out and spend some time in the sun. I don't think it's really warm, but it's a beautiful sunny day. Ask yourself, are you moving your body? I talk about this. It's the biggest part of, to me, one of the biggest things that I find when I don't feel like I have any energy, or if I'm kind of in a kind of mood, as soon as I start moving my body, it makes me feel strong. It makes me feel vibrant. It brings me energy. This morning, I got up, I guess it was about 7:15, and my husband was home. So we decided, let's go in the hot tub, we'll chat a little bit. Well, an hour later, we're still chatting. And so I got my day started a little bit later than I normally would. But because I had been in this hot tub and nice and relaxed, I really didn't feel like getting a workout in. Kind of felt lazy at that point, and which is not typical of me. I like to get up and do my workouts in the morning. So got myself dressed, put my workout clothes on, and I came down and I kind of futzed around for a little bit. But I got on my elliptical, and I always warm up with on my elliptical no matter what I'm doing. I got on the elliptical and I started moving and I started grooving. I had my AirPods on. I was listening to Green Day. I always listen to Green Day when I'm running. But for some reason, when I'm on the elliptical, I've been listening to Green Day also. A lot of great upbeat music. Upbeat music made me feel good. Guess what? All of a sudden, felt really good. And I was kicking butt on the elliptical. I finished my warm up. I got my workout in and got back on track. So movement is such a big part of self-care. And, we don't think of it as, we don't always think of it. We think of it as something that we have to do. The more we find things that we enjoy and movement becomes something that we want to do, the more you'll enjoy it, right? This is a hard one for a lot of women. Am I embracing my body for what it is now, rather longing for what it used to be? Right? I said that before, we're never going to be 20 again, right? This is the first time I've been 53. My body looks different. Now, do I still have muscle tone? Yeah. Why? Because I'm strength training, right? I still have lean muscle. I also have great cardiovascular um, uh, abilities because I run. I'm not running as fast or as far as I used to, but I'm still running. I'm still doing the things that make me feel good and that make it, when I look in the mirror, I'm proud of that body. It's not perfect, but it's my body and it's doing the things that I'm asking it to. And so that's a very good question to ask yourself. Rediscovering this sensuality piece really does start with feeling good in your skin and like your you know naked skin. The more you care for your body, the more confident you will be when it comes to um, bringing intimacy into the bedroom with your spouse or partner. Something that is essential. Obviously, you need to feel good about yourself, but you also need to make sure that you have the lines of communication open with your partner. So often, we don't talk about what's going on, and we're embarrassed or whatever it may be. We grew up in a time where we just didn't talk about sex, or we kind of talked about it when we were kids, and when we were teenagers, and we kind of laughed about it before we actually really knew what it was and what it meant, right? And again, when you were in your 20s and 30s, it's a lot different. It was a lot different than it is now. But if you're feeling disconnected with your sexual life with your partner, you really need to communicate. This communication is key to reignite that spark. Because if they don't know what's going on, if they don't know what's different with you, they can't help you. They can't make it better, right? So be honest about what's changed. Share your desires and fears, and wait, what makes you feel comfortable and connected, and what makes you feel the opposite, disconnected and uncomfortable, right? Because there are times, things that we liked before, we don't like anymore. They just don't feel good anymore, right? And I think it's really important to approach this in midlife with a more curious attitude and less with expectation, right? Curiosity is the thing that will bring you together, right? And vulnerability is sexy, right? It builds trust, it builds connection, builds deeper passion. And isn't that what we're looking for at this stage in life with our partners? So, yes, it is. I know, preaching to the choir here. I know. So let's just quickly address some of the physical changes with what's going on and a couple of things that we can do to kind of fix it, right? We can't fix menopause, right? It's just happening. It doesn't go away. But we can certainly find solutions that are that'll work for us, right? Vaginal dryness, reduce libido, discomfort. All of these things are solvable, right? I think it's really important to understand that just because this is what you're experiencing today doesn't mean that this is what you're going to have to experience for the rest of your life, right? Dr. Sarah Mitchell, she's a board certified gynecologist, and she shares this little nugget. The key to navigating midlife change is education and openness. And sometimes that education is we need education. Sometimes we need to educate our partners. So there are effective treatments and strategies that are available, right? It starts with seeking help, whether that's your gynecologist, whether it's a functional medicine doctor, whether it's connecting with somebody like me, a longevity concierge. But really, it starts with seeking help and knowing that you're not alone. You know, there are a lot of postmenopausal, menopausal women here on the planet, right? We're not on these little islands. You know, we're all here together, and collectively we can support each other, help each other to live more exciting, passionate lives, right? So a couple of solutions. And this first one is always a conversation starter or a killer, right? HRT, hormone replacement therapy. It is a viable option for many people. Um, it does have its risks, so that's something that you want to make sure you know the risk benefit of HRT, and your doctor will be able to explain that. On the other hand, there's bioidentical hormones, which is the route that I chose for me, and it has been a life changer. It's simple, it's easy. There aren't side effects that I had when I was on birth control back in the day, right? A lot of times, what I had found was things that were well, the birth control at one point, which is hormone replacement therapy. Oh, by the way, it is a hormone therapy. Sorry, it is a hormone therapy. That was actually causing it was making my hot flashes go away, but it was actually causing more vaginal dryness and pain, and painful sex. So like, well, that's sucks because yeah, one thing's better, but the other thing is worse. So bioidentical really helped me to alleviate all of those. But again, you have the option of hormone replacement therapy or bioidentical hormone therapy. We know you can go to the drugstore, there's natural lubricants, moisturizers, all of those things. There are several physicians on line who have products that they've invented or created themselves. I find those are I'm a lot more comfortable using those rather than something you just bought at the drugstore because who knows how long it's been there, right? Something that I was introduced to when I first started struggling was pelvic floor exercises that basically help to enhance sensitivity, right? Because we know if our libido is kind of decreasing, we tend to have maybe what comes along with that possibly is the ability to really enjoy what's happening, right? You're having sex, but you're just not getting to that climax. So there are these pelvic floor exercises that are really helpful. And of course, there's tons of supplements out there. My caution with supplements, though, is know where they are coming from. I talk about this many, many times, you know, in my journey. I found a company, it's actually a OBGYN up in, I think they're in Maine or Massachusetts, huge company. The physician there, a female physician, she created these supplements for menopausal women because she saw that there was just such a gap in this area because a lot of women, you know, HRT isn't something that you take, or bioidentical hormones, or maybe not something you take when you're 45, right? It might be, but maybe not. But for me, these supplements it was a company called Women to Women. They've now changed their name, but this supplement was fabulous. I took it for 10 years and it was great. At that point, my body was continued to change and I needed to do something a little bit more intense, but some of the supplements that are out there are fantastic. Again, this is something that I would say, don't go to your local drugstore and buy anything that people tell you. A lot of these supplements, Primrose, for example, my mother's doctor, a gynecologist told her that she should use Primrose because it's good for the lady parts. Really, that was an OBGYN saying this. But the problem was my mom got this bottle of Primrose and she got it from a reputable company, one that we do trust. But it said on the bottle, the directions were take 1 to 6 daily. Do you take 1? Do you take 6? How do you know what to take? And then how do you know what's going to interact or not interact? So that is one of the things that I really do recommend when it comes to supplements. Really know what you're taking and where it's coming from. Truly, with any of these things that you do, taking action is empowering, right? You deserve to feel comfortable. You deserve to feel confident. You deserve to feel sexy, right? Yes, you do. So let's embrace this newness, okay? We know what worked in our 20s and 30s ain't working now, right? What excited you then just doesn't do it for you now, right? A lot of our desires now really it comes in by our our brain and our thoughts and our feelings. And so when you're 20 and 30, that's not even where your mind is. But at this stage in life, we're older, we're wiser, and that's great. This is a chance for us to explore, redefine, and expand what intimacy and sex is for us. So try something new, experiment, have fun. Like if you're with your partner for 20 something years, why not try something different and have something fun, right? Incorporate some mindfulness into this because I do believe that when you are comfortable with what you're thinking and what your partner is thinking and what you're embarking on, that's really important, and it really does deepen your connection. So the other day, my mom doesn't really know what I do. I swear she doesn't, because she's always sending me books. Oh, this doctor wrote a book on menopause, or this person wrote a book on menopause. So she was looking in the AARP magazine, which of course I get. My husband's over 55 and I'm 53. And actress Naomi Watts is she was on in the magazine, and she's written a book. And so she sort of shared this funny story. And I really got a kick out of it because I totally understood where she was coming from. So this is the quote. During my first intimate moment with my now husband, I was so self-conscious about my hormone replacement patch that I tried to discreetly remove it. He noticed and joked about his own signs of aging. That lighthearted moment was one of the most romantic things I've ever experienced. Now, here are two people in the middle age, a little bit older, having a great time, being able to laugh and communicate with each other. This really reminds us that humor, vulnerability, and embracing change makes intimacy and sex more meaningful. And of course, your mindset does matter. I touched on this before. If you catch yourself thinking, I'm too old for this, or, well, my body's just not what it used to be, it is time to flip that script, lady. These are not thoughts that you want to be having because, yeah, you're older. You're older and you're wiser. You're older and you're wiser, and you're moving into a new phase in life, right? Your body isn't what it used to be. Nope, it's not. It's not going to be what it used to be. But what can it be? What can it do now, right? So really listen to how you're speaking to yourself, because this connection that you have with yourself is going to deepen that connection that you have with your partner. And truly, positive mindset is transformative. It's why I focus on nutrition and mindset with all of my clients, even the ones who come to me and say, Denise, I want to lose weight. That's great, but we still focus on nutrition and mindset. Mindset is essential for a healthy, happy life when it comes to your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. So when you do flip that inner dialogue from self-criticism to self-compassion, you do open at the door, as I said, to a deeper connection. Again, deeper connection with you, renewed intimacy with yourself, with your partner. So why it's worth it? Why is all of this? So we're talking about all this. Okay, fine, Denise. What's next? A fulfilling sex life is not just about pleasure. We keep talking about that. It is about health and vitality and connection, right? It's kind of like, the phrase, if you don't use it, you lose it. That actually applies to our vagina and our sex life. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. One, physically, things are changing and you kind of atrophy, right? But also, if you stop doing it, you don't want to do it anymore. And that's not good for a healthy relationship. Right? Having great relationships, having sex, and having, this close, intimate relationship It releases those feel-good hormones, boosts your mood, reduces stress. Woohoo! Hey, we knew that, but let's remind ourselves it actually feels good, to boost our mood, to feel happy, to feel energized, and reduce our stress. Stress is one of the worst things that we deal with in our lives today, and so much of it, is we bring onto ourselves. Right? Again, why it's worth it. You're going to strengthen your relationship with your partner. Right? It's going to boost your confidence and remind you of the amazing, sexy, confident person, woman that you are. So take the first step. If this conversation sparked a little something, and you're ready to take a little bit of action, make sure you schedule some time with your partner. You thought I was going to say schedule time with me, which I'm going to tell you to do in a minute, but schedule time with your partner to talk. Again, maybe you have to go away, maybe go to dinner. Friday night is date night for me and my husband. No matter what, Friday night is date night, right? Why do we do that? One, this is a great night for me not to have to cook, but more importantly, we sit across from each other and we talk, right? Talk to your doctor about solutions that work for you, might be, good for you. And again, self-care, prioritize you, and you will all of a sudden realize how this piece of your life can be better, can be more fulfilling, more exciting, right? Because you deserve to feel, vibrant and sexy and confident at every stage of life, right? I mean, we see so often, on television, we see some amazing women in their 70s and 80s that are still working. Jane Fonda and Cher. I picked those two because I've been watching a TV program with Jane Fonda recently. They look amazing, right? They haven't shriveled up and go, I'm too old. No, they haven't. They look better, today, more confident in who they are than they may have when they were 30 and 40. So if you are ready to rediscover passion and a better time in bed, join me for Hormones in Harmony, the Menopause Wellness Series. This is a space where you can learn something new, connect with other women, and embrace this phase of life fully, completely, and with some fun and some humor. If you prefer a little more personalized guidance, schedule a consultation with me. That link will be in the show notes. And let's explore some solutions tailored just for you, right? Intimacy isn't what used to be, right? It's about what it can be. And let's get curious about that, right? Let's make this stage of life the most fulfilling yet, okay? Thank you, everybody, for listening, for being here. If you liked this episode, please make sure to subscribe, leave me a review, and share with a friend who may need to hear this, okay? Thank you again. Until next time, everyone, I leave you with this: healthy living, happy life. Have a great day.